We are ready. We are here. Welcome. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Radha Govinda Dev. This is See Through. It is a podcast with me, Achyuta Gopi. And this is where we come to try and get some clarity for ourselves on spiritual perspectives, on sacred literatures, on all of the wonderful pastimes of our supreme most best friend, because why not? It's always a good day, but this is particularly a good day because it is coming toward the end of our special Sri Purushottam Mas, this extra Adhik Mas, or this extra month of Purushottam, has been such a wonderful exploration of Krishna's pastimes. This is one of my favorite, most times of the year, and it only comes around once every 3 years. And I remember when I started realizing that this was an actual month, I remember feeling like, why didn't anybody tell me sooner that I was winning the lottery once every 3 years? So I'm always really excited whenever this month comes around. It always feels like we have kind of like two Kartiks within a year, and all of the pastimes of Sri Krishna can be celebrated throughout this entire month. So we are within the last 5 days. We've only got like maybe 2 days left, depending upon where you are in the world. But we've been spending this time together, going and journeying through so many different pastimes of Krishna's and so many different stories and fun details. And today is going to be much the same. I did promise that we would be speaking about the magic of Krishna's ropes. Krishna is a cowherd boy, and as a cowherd boy, he and his friends often carry around ropes. So today we're going to talk about ropes. His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj has done a series called the Stimulus for Ecstatic Symptoms, based on the Nectar of Devotion, where Srila Prabhupada and Srila Rupa Goswami speak about the different things that are a stimulus for ecstatic symptoms, things that make you remember Krishna. And my sister and I were speaking about all of those different things that can help us remember Krishna. And if you would like to be like transcendentally obsessed, could be anything, right? We were speaking about the fact that what kind of differentiates us in our Maya versus us in our spiritual life is the fact that we tend to look for Krishna-free spaces. And we had made a resolve, my sister and I, that we don't want any Krishna-free spaces. Like, even if it looks like we are not doing something that is Krishna conscious, we kind of have asked Krishna, you know what, just come with, insert yourself. No Krishna-free spaces. And an amazing thing happens when you make that kind of resolve within yourself. All of a sudden, all of the spaces that were Krishna-free become Krishna-full, and in so many miraculous kinds of ways. I went to a theme park and could not escape devotees, and I didn't want to. Like, it was one of those things. Like, I don't really want to escape devotees, but I'm just like walking along, and I happen to look ahead, and I'm turning to my sister-in-law, and I'm like, is that Hanuman? Like, this is the most random thing ever. It's like, theme park and superheroes and all this stuff, and I'm like, is that Hanuman? It is Hanuman. And when you see something like that, it's almost like seeing a family member. You're so excited. Oh, there he is. And we're running forward to go see him. So it's just one of those wonderful Krishna magic moments, as Mother Yamuna would have said, that reminds us that we don't have to have any Krishna free spaces, even if it looks as though we are living in the world. And Shri Krishna always says, one who sees me everywhere, he is never lost. I'm never lost to him. He's never lost to me. So the moment that we have the desire even to want to see Krishna everywhere, find some reminder of Krishna everywhere, so many things become a stimulus for ecstatic symptoms. And we might have a long way to go in terms of experiencing ecstatic symptoms. We'll hear about some of the ecstatic symptoms of the gopis, and we might find ourselves, we're thinking, I'm a long way off from that. But even just the remembrance, that feeling in the heart where your heart speeds up and there's butterflies in your stomach and you're just happier because you've been reminded of Krishna, it's enough. It's according to our capabilities. So anything could be a reminder, anything at all. And I'm super happy about that. So first, we have to begin with a very wonderful verse recited by Kondinya Muni, which is very special for Sri Purushottam Mas. And like I said, since we're in these last few days, why not chant it together? So it is always advisable to offer a diya or a ghee lamp during this time. If you'd like, send those emojis in, please, please, please. Always good and always accepted. So we'll have our short Mangalacharan and then we'll go right into the verse. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Govardhanadaram vande gopalam goparupinam gokulotsavam govindam gopikapriyam. I worship Gopal, the lifter of Govardhan, who has the form of a cowherd boy. He is the festival of Gokul and the supreme controller of all. He is Govinda and the beloved of the gopis. By chanting this mantra with devotion during Sri Purushottam month, one will attain Sri Purushottam Sri Krishna himself. One should devote the Purushottam month to constantly meditating on the two-armed form of Sri Krishna, who has the complexion of a new monsoon rain cloud, who plays the flute, who wears a yellow silken dhoti, and who is accompanied by Srimati Radharani, and who also apparently carries a rope, sometimes a walking stick, sometimes a buffalo horn, that he got without hurting the buffalo. In fact, technically he didn't get it from the buffalo at all, but that's a story for another see-through. It's one of my favorite stories that I heard from Indradumna Maharaj. I'll retell it because I can't help it because it's so good. But we will do that next Monday. And I'll tell you why next Monday. We'll do it next Monday and I'll tell you why also next Monday. So please don't miss next Mondays because you'll never look at Krishna's buffalo horn the same way ever again. And then when he shows up with it, oh, it'll be so sweet. And I've had situations where I've been listening to this particular lecture and then I go and then that same day, Krishna has had his buffalo horn. I'm like, oh, it's so adorable. I love him. Okay. So that we can dive right in. One beautiful ashtakam that many devotees chant during the month of Purushottam is the Chodastakam, which celebrates Krishna as a thief. But why in the world would I want to recite Chodastakam today? I mean, well, I'll tell you why. I mean, because it's still the very end of Purushottam Mas, but it also we have even more. So I will recite just the translation of the Chodastakam, And this translation has been taken from the many lectures of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So this version of the Chaurastakam is found in Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj's book, Mathura Meets Vrindavan. Many times we think, the two don't meet, but they do. So, Chaurastakam. I offer my obeisances to that supreme thief, Lord Hari, who is the best of all thieves. He steals the butter from the houses of the damsels of Brajabhumi. He steals all the garments of the damsels of Brajabhumi. He is famous for his acts of stealing. He steals all the sinful reactions of his devotees. Such a great thief. I offer my obeisances to that supreme thief. He steals the heart of Radharani. He steals the blackish hue of the dark cloud. He steals everything. For those who take shelter at his lotus feet, he steals everything they have. He takes all of their possessions, their material assets, money, and men. He even steals their mind. I offer my obeisances to that great thief, that most supreme thief. He takes away everything from those who take shelter at his lotus feet. He takes away their material wealth, their wife, their children, and their kith and kin. He takes everything. Then those persons become paupers, like beggars on the street with no house, no hut, nothing. Such a great thief who steals away everything. I have not seen or heard of such a great thief, a supreme thief in all the three worlds. I offer my obeisances to that supreme thief. Now, question. Why in the world would we be celebrating this supreme thief who takes away all of our creature comforts, it seems? Like all the money, all the wealth, all the house, all the possessions. It says, for one who takes shelter at his lotus feet, he takes away all of those things. And then you think, but don't I need those things in order to live? Like, Lord, what do you want from me? Should I survive or not? However, when Krishna does the thieving, we are about to see, as this Chaurastakam continues, what the result is when Krishna steals from us. Such a great thief, if one only hears his name, he takes away all of their sinful reactions. I have never seen or heard of such a wonderful thief. I pay my obeisances to that supreme thief. O great thief, stealing all of our assets, bank balance, money, land, property, prestige, fame, senses, mind, heart, and everything. Now you are running away. Where are you running? I will catch hold of you. You are such a great thief, but now you are caught. I will bind you with this rope of love. Where will you go now, great thief? Running away and taking everything. You are bound up with this very strong rope of love. You cannot run away now. You may cut off the rope of Yamaraj. You may cut off this material bondage, but you cannot cut this bondage of love. Now you are in bondage. I have bound you up. O great thief, Lord Hari, I am putting you in the very dark prison house of my heart. This is the right prison for you. I am putting you here forever. This is the proper punishment for your act of stealing. Stay forever in this prison house of my heart. I'll never release you. Now I have bound you with the rope of love and put you in the prison house of my heart. Stay there, stay there, stay there. You cannot get yourself free from this very tight bondage, O Krishna. You have stolen everything from me. My material assets, my name, my fame, my beauty, my reputation, my kith and kin, my family members, my heart, and my mind. This is the proper punishment for you, to remain in this prison house of my heart, bound up very tightly with the rope of love forever and forever. If crores of pralayas or disasters come, still I won't release you. This is suitable punishment for such a great thief as you. May that wonderful thief, Sri Krishna, protect us all. And may we all find some nice corner in the very dark prison cells of our hearts with which to lock up Krishna forever and ever. I mean, he's going to steal it anyway. But, you know, the reaction for his stealing is that now we get to bind him to us. There's nowhere else for him to go. Like Bali and Vamana. You know, they are always, it's like they are forever remembered in connection with one another and forever staying near one another. Vamana was so entranced, so affectionate with Bali after Bali gave him everything. And he thinks, I can't leave you now. You've given me everything. You've taken full shelter of me. You have no one else now but me. So now I have to stay with you for forever. And when God stays with you for forever, he usually sets you up in a very, very nice place, which usually is more opulent than even the heavenly planets, as he did for Bali Maharaj, as he did for even all of the residents of Sri Vrindavan Dham. We think of Sri Vrindavan Dham as a village the way we see it today. You know, there's lots of dust, very, very, very simple living. However, I was reading about all of the various kunjas just on the banks of Radhakund at that time. Even the gopas, the cowherd boys, had kunjas, which I didn't realize. So even the cowherd boys had kunjas. Madhu Mangal had a kunja. Sri Dhamma had a kunja. And so all of those Priya Narmasakas, those cowherd boys that get to see Krishna's more intimate pastimes, when he's even just conversing with the gopis, they all have kunjas. Not only do they have kunjas, but when it is time for Radha and Krishna to perform pastimes, those cowherd boys clean the kunjas so nicely. And then what they do is they say, well, it's not necessarily right for us cowherd boys to be here the whole time. So then they give those kunjas to some of the gopis. So they say, here, you take control of my kunja for this time. And I was just like, how sweet is Vrindavan? Really, everybody's just cooperating in order for Radha Govinda to be happy. This is the definition of spiritual community. Everybody kind of just working together in cooperation with one goal in mind: Krishna's smile, Krishna's happiness. Even if they are arguing with each other, they're arguing because it makes Krishna smile and it makes Krishna laugh, which wonderfully kind of leads us into what we're going to begin speaking about today. So the majority of this session will come from a book called Venu Gita by His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj. And Shivaram Maharaj has wonderfully compiled so many of the writings of our previous spiritual teachers and acharyas. And he has woven them together in a narrative that is just incredibly amazing. And so within Venu Gita, there's a chapter which is called Krishna's Ropes of Love. And so we get to hear so much about Krishna's wonderfulness. And it begins with a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, and a verse that we read within Krishna book the last time we were reading. Srila Prabhupada has done such a beautiful 10th canto summary of Srimad Bhagavatam and then condensed it into the sweetest nectarian, like sweet rice milk in the form of Krishna book. And so kind of in the same way, Shivaram Maharaj has taken so many of the works of previous acharyas and Srimad Bhagavatam and their commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam and so many different other sources, and he's woven it into a beautiful narration, beginning with Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 21, verse 19. Ga gopake anuvanam nayato rudara Venu swane kalapadestanu sakya Aspandanam gatimatam pulakastarunam Niryogapashakrita lakshanayor vichitram. My dear friends, the gopis say, as Krishna and Balaram pass through the forest with their cowherd friends, leading their cows. They carry ropes to bind the cows' rear legs at the time of milking. When Lord Krishna plays on his flute, the sweet music causes the moving living entities to become stunned and the non-moving trees to tremble with ecstasy. These things are certainly very wonderful. So now we have our amazing opening. And we'll see what happens with all of these cowherd boys and Krishna and their ropes and the gopis, and just see, what this will bring up for us now as a stimulus for some ecstatic symptoms. If I could just get my music to work, that would also be wonderful. Let's try again. There we go. So just let me know if the ratio of background music to vocal speaking is off. Basically, let me know if the music's too loud. Okay, are we ready? Have we fastened our seatbelts? Feel free. Laugh, cry, clap, cheer. So earlier in the day, Krishna had left the town of Vrindavan proper and had taken the cows along with Balaram and all of their friends so that they could go grazing by Govardhan Hill and so many of the different places in and around Govardhan Hill. And so we begin. While in Surya Kund, where the gopis often go to perform Surya Puja, Madhu Mangal had received some special sweets from Jatila. Now this is something. Jatila is the mother-in-law of Radharani. Not usually a very kind and accommodating woman, but they had given Madhu Mangal some sweets because he is, of course, a Brahmin boy. And so one person is asking, what is a kunja? A kunja is like a garden. It's like a wonderful personal garden with like pavilions and gazebos, and many of them are made with precious stones like coral and quartz and turquoise inlaid within the steps and the many sitting places, and it has little streams and lots of fruits, and it's like a really amazing little personal garden. And so in many of these places, Krishna will go and speak with his many friends. He hangs out, has conversations with many of the gopis, the cowherd girls of Vrindavan. And so Krishna is known as Kunja Bihari, one who delights in these forest groves or these little gardens of Vrindavan. So now we have Madhu Mangal, who is a very sweet Brahmin boy. He is always about 8 years older than Krishna. And so sometimes we will hear that he has a mustache. And so the rest of the cowherd boys are always too young to have mustaches. And so Krishna never looks older than 15, 16. Very sweet-faced Krishna. And so he usually never, ever in our Gaudiya tradition is depicted with a mustache. But Madhu Mangal has a little a budding, growing mustache. And sometimes he's very, very proud of his mustache because he is 8 years older than Krishna. And so one might think how is this possible? Who is this? Yes, so he arrives in Vrindavan with his grandmother, who is Purnamasi. And Purnamasi handles so many of the details, and she's like the director of the pastimes in Vrindavan. But Purnamasi is also the grandmother of Madhu Mangal. And so it states that one day in Vrindavan, while Yashoda Rani was still pregnant, into the village of Vrindavan walked a very wonderful, mystic, yogini looking woman, holding the hand of a little boy and a little girl. And so when she walks in, they say that her hair is piled high and a top knot on her head, and she is wearing like a reddish or saffron sari, looking like the rising sun. She is effulgent. She looks neither old nor young. No one can kind of tell or guess how old she is. And Garga Samhita states that she enters and she says, "My name is Purnamasi, and I am the mother of Sandipani Muni." Now, if anybody knows anything about Krishna book, and we'll get there, Sandipani Muni will later become the teacher for Krishna. And he lives in a town called Avanti. And she said that, "I heard that there's a very special birth that is to take place here, and so we've shifted from Avanti all the way to Vrindavan." So she says, "I'll stay here." And she says that no one should really try to get to know how old she is or any of these things. She's very mystical. I'll always appear just like this. She says, "I brought with me my grandson and my granddaughter, Madhu Mangal and Nandimukhi. They'll stay here with me." Madhu Mangal becomes so dear to Krishna that Krishna keeps him as his own personal family priest and Brahmin for the rest of their days. So no matter where Krishna goes, Madhu Mangal goes with him. And it is such a sweet friendship, as we're about to see. Madhu Mangal is, within the pastimes of Sri Krishna, usually very funny. He's there for comic relief. He makes Krishna laugh. He is often very proud of his status as a Brahmin priest and teacher of society. He is often very, very proud of his Brahminical prowess and his austerities. Everyone else is kind of doubtful about which austerities, but he is proud of his austerities. And very often, he's very hungry, but so sweet. And really, he's just such a likable person. I always kind of thought, if I could meet a few people, Madhu Mangal would be one of them. Also, Lalita Sakhi would be one of them. Madhu Mangal and Lalita Sakhi often argue and fight very fiercely. But once again, it is only to make Krishna smile or to advance a pastime. So Madhu Mangal had received some special sweets from Jatila and had concealed them from his friends in a corner of his scarf. Coming to know of his deceit, which if any of you have read Premamala, you will begin to recognize this pastime, because one of the best things about Krishna consciousness is that our purpose is just to tell these stories again and again and again and again. So you'll recognize this pastime. Coming to know of his deceit, Haladar, Balaram, the holder of the plow, approached him and asked, "Madhu, what have you hidden in that cloth?" Suspicious of Baladev's intentions, Madhu Mangal secured his treasure under his arms and said, "Purushottam of the sun god, of what interest is it to you, dear friend?" Like a white cloud blessing the earth, Balaram, who was dressed in a deep blue dhoti, asked, "Pato, where did you get such things from?" Increasingly fearful, Madhu Mangal replied, "I pleased the hearts of the Brijbasis by performing sacrifices and was rewarded for my Brahminical labors." "Open up and let me see what nectar you have," insisted a smiling Balaram. Sensing some impending doom, Madhu Mangal said with determined greed and concealment, "No, you and your friends are greedy and voracious. Just by glancing at my prasadam, you will become lusty and lose control of your senses. So isn't this all of us? When Krishna or our gurus say, oh, what new thing do you have? Would you like to share? And then we all turn around and we're like, no, I wouldn't actually. The problem is now we have no choice because we just prayed to a thief. So let's see what happens with sweet Madhu Mangal. Removing the plow from his shoulder and leaning against its ornate handle, Balaram teased him further and said, Pato, why are you so greedy? Divide your prasadam amongst your friends while keeping an honest portion for yourself. After all, the dharma of Brahmins is to give in charity after having accepted it. Raising his head and expanding his chest in pride, Madhu Mangal said, Friend, at this time I have no inclination to offer you this heavenly preparation or partake of it myself. When inspired by the Supreme, I shall attend to the needful. Coming closer and taking him into confidence, Balaram whispered, The boys are agitated and want to take your prasadam by force. It is better to offer them some and placate their appetites. I do not know what will be the outcome of their restlessness. Madhu Mangal curled his lips and replied with contempt, I do not consider your friends to be more important than blades of grass, nor do I think very highly of you, Bala. I am a Brahmana, a god on earth, and you, ignorant cowherd boys, want to threaten my property despite the many warnings of the Vedas. Do you not know the power of a celibate Brahmana like me? I told you, he's very proud of his Brahminical status. While Madhu Mangal spoke, Balaram gave a secret signal, and the cowherd boys humbly surrounded him, submissively begging for some of his prasadam. Adamant and uncompromising, Madhu merely kept his silence and thrust his wealth within his dhoti. Then one boy came from behind and quickly covered Madhu Mangal's eyes, while another deftly took his prasadam-laden scarf from his belt. While Madhu Mangal protested, the boys ran hither and thither, looting the prasadam and making a great show of their pleasure. As he began to rant of the unrefined qualities of the gopas, another boy came from behind and opened the back fold of Madhu's dhoti. Turning to tuck it in, another boy drew near to open the front fold. With both front and back folds in disarray, his belly protruding generously and exerting to cover his exposed portions, Madhu Mangal was embarrassed, enraged, and incoherent. Led by Subal, many boys launched a frontal assault against Madhu's defense of abusive words. They dislodged his turban, loosened his hair knot, and looted his flute and his stick. See, even Madhu Mangal plays a flute. Madhu Mangal laughed, cried, growled, scolded, and cursed the boys. While holding his cloth with one hand, he snatched Krishna's stick from his grasp and began to clumsily run after the boys while cursing them, his face glowing red as a beet. When some boys stood their ground, they fought him with sticks until Krishna restrained his friends and lovingly embraced Madhu Mangal. Gopal returned his stick and flute, replaced his turban at a humorous slant, and retied his dhoti about his rotund belly. Seeing his prasadam entirely consumed, Madhu Mangal angrily cursed the boys, saying, You are enjoying the property of a Brahmin and stealing prasadam earned as a consequence of my vast learning and purity. You boys are impure, whimsical, and arrogant. I shall now return to Braj and inform everyone of your boorish impudence. As Madhu Mangal was about to leave, Balaram affectionately stopped him. Oh, you are the instigator of these boys' sins and their rebellion against the established Shastric order? Pursing his lips, Madhu said, I will not speak with you until they have atoned for their sins, begged my pardon, and changed their ways. In this way, Sri Govinda played with his friends, surrounded by his cows, moving by the foot of ancient trees, treading the sacred dust of Braj and giving joy to all creatures. The divine brothers dived further into the ocean of their loving sports. So, this is just a little bit of how Krishna entertains himself, moving through the forest during the day. So sometimes we think, oh, Krishna, he goes to the forest, he has to do all of these different chores. Even Krishna says, I work so hard for my family. I'm doing this family business of herding cows, and then I come home after a very long day. He's always, Mother, I'm so hungry. I've been doing so much. Sometimes he uses it as an excuse, of course. Whenever she's caught him by the hand and he's stolen some butter, and the butter is on his hands, on his arms, by the elbows, across his face, and she's asking him, why are you so restless? Why are you stealing? He says, I don't know what you're talking about. I've actually been in the pastures all day, working so hard. Don't you see the dust from the cow's hooves? Don't you see there's so much sweat? Mother, what are you saying? How could you call me a thief? How could you? Just what? I'm seeing the evidence on your mouth, on your hands. In one very sweet pastime that comes directly before a pastime that we'll end with. Once Mother Yashoda has caught Krishna, small baby, hands completely filled with yogurt. She says, what are you doing? Why are you stealing? Says, I wasn't stealing. I don't know what you mean. I'm not a thief. I don't steal. And Mother Yashoda says, Lala, I see the evidence on your hands. He says, no, I wasn't stealing. You put ruby bangles on my arms, and they're so hot, the rubies. The rubies are so hot, and they're attracting the light of the sun. And my arms were so hot, I thought, let me cool them down by putting them into the pot of yogurt. You see, I wasn't stealing. I was simply cooling down. Don't you see? I'm such an innocent boy. This is our Krishna, the absolute truth, who uses so many ways to convince his mother of the fact that he was not stealing when he absolutely was stealing. And of course, how can he steal what already belongs to him? But he was absolutely stealing. So now we see how he was there with all of his friends and how he would go through the forest, and we think this is, we're understanding Krishna has gone through such a hard day's work, but Krishna enjoys it. There's nothing that he enjoys more than this kind of work. So, further along in this same chapter, it is written, there is a special ornament worn by Sri Krishna, which acts as a great impetus for the gopis' love and submerges them in the waves of his remembrance. It is known as the Nir Yoga Pash. Srila Prabhupada states that Krishna and Balaram carry this rope or Nir Yoga Pash, as we heard, even in the Sanskrit. So they carry this rope on their shoulders and in their hands like ordinary cowherd boys. Its purpose is to bind the hind legs of the cows at the time of milking. The special attractiveness of these ropes manifests as a consequence of the human-like behavior of Krishna and Balaram, who are, in truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like all cowherd boys, they were also obliged to carry such ropes to bind the legs of the cows or their restless calves during the time of milking. But these ropes, their ropes, are not ordinary. The Nir Yoga Pash of Krishna Balaram are made of yellow cloth and have a decorative cluster of pearls at both ends, which gives them a special beauty, Sandurya Vishesh. Taking these ropes, the boys bind them in their turbans and create an extraordinary ornament which bewilders the minds of the gopis and indeed the minds of all living entities. There is great jubilation in the minds of everyone as they behold the wonderful dress of Sri Krishna, Adbhuta Ram Vesh, this wonderful dress of Krishna that gives pleasure to all of the senses of everyone. So this dress has reached the summit of wonder in the presence of the Niryogapash. The physical characteristics of the rope are but a fraction of its beauty, for the Niryogapash is a sign of Sri Krishna's ultimate pastime, his binding his devotees with the ropes of love. So now we just heard in the Chaurastakam that we are going to bind Krishna with ropes of love. But now we'll also hear that Krishna in turn will bind us with ropes of love. I love. The Niryogapash is the insignia of Krishna's intent for all living entities, moving or non-moving, conditioned or liberated. So all living entities. So don't just think, oh, it's just the pure devotees in Vrindavan. No. This includes us. So when we see Krishna with these ropes, when we see the deities, when we catch that darshan on the days where they're wearing their special ropes, we should rejoice. This is a good day even for us. Krishna's looking to have a pastime with us. As he ties up the cows to take their milk, Sri Krishna desires to tie down his devotees with his love. As he milks the cows, Sri Krishna desires to extract the loving devotion of his bhaktas. And as the milk is the staple of the cowherd community, Prema Bhakti is the only means of sustenance for Rasika Shekhar, the insatiable connoisseur of loving exchanges. So just as milk is the staple for the cowherd community, love is Krishna's staple. The word niryoga means to tie tightly. When the gopis and creatures of Braj see this rope, they understand Sri Krishna's desire to be always engaged in intense, loving pastimes. What a name that would be. The servant of Krishna's Niryogapash. That's a good name. What good name. When it is tightly wound on his turban, okay? So when Krishna has this rope tightly wound in his turban, it indicates that he has achieved success in firmly binding a devotee to his heart. When the rope is in his hand or loosely draped on his shoulder, it is understood that he is hunting for some fortunate soul upon whom he will throw his noose of love and entice him into its wonderful network. Ah, how adorable. How amazing is our Krishna? How awesome is our Krishna? I love it so much. So, ropes in the turban mean he's been successful. Victory, he's found someone. And sometimes we can wonder, I wonder who he's found. And when he's having the rope in his hand or on his shoulder or by his side, means he's hunting. Let's hope we can all be caught. When they see Krishna's intent by the use of his Niryogapash, the living entities of Braj experience manifestations of love like falling unconscious, crying, trembling, and horripilation, or like standing of the hair on end, or goosebumps. And so remember when I was saying the stimulus for ecstatic symptoms, these ecstatic symptoms, we might be far off from them, falling unconscious, crying, trembling, horripilations. We might be a little bit far off, except for the last one. That last one, the goosebumps one, is always my favorite because that one I can do. I might not have all the other ones, but that one I can do. When you hear a really good Krishna pastime, like the one I'm going to do right after this one, you hear a really sweet one and the goosebumps start, just know Krishna is there whispering along your skin, just waiting, like, are you going to notice me? Do you notice that I'm right here with you? Because it's not just that Krishna is within his name and pastimes. He is his name, form, qualities, and pastimes. So when we are just speaking the name, oh Govinda, Krishna, Damodar, Madhava, Madhusudan, so many of these names, Krishna is here right now with all of us. Will we give him our attention? I don't know, but it makes me excited to think about it. Looking from the moon tower. See, this is not any kind of village that you and I know of, because in the villages that I see today, I don't see any moon towers, and I really want to see them. I remember reading this when I was like 18 or 19 and just going, I want to see Radharani's moon tower, which apparently is made of crystal. I want to see it. Maybe one day, we will be reading these pastimes with such love in the heart that we'll then go take a little nap, and somehow we'll get to see even just the crystal moon tower of Srimati Radharani. Even if I don't get to see anybody who's in there, just seeing the moon tower would be enough. It's so wondrous. I was reading about all of the gems that are surrounding Radhakund, and I was thinking, oh man, when I go there, I have to switch my vision. I have to look for those gems because I'm sure they're still there. And apparently, so many Brijbasis say that you can see so many things, provided you have faith in these pastimes. Then it seems that Krishna reveals the inside track to all of us. If anyone has ever been to Vrindavan, you know in Govardhan Parikrama, there's an outside track and an inside track. And the inside track has a lot more to be seen. The inside track is very sweet. So maybe if we gather up enough faith, Krishna will reveal this inside track. And then, even if you find yourself having a lack of faith, even say in Krishna, what if it sounds too fantastic? What if it sounds too out there? You know, how can I have faith in this? You mean there's just turquoise inlaid in the grounds? Yes. It's like, well, and you mean that there are like bowls and basins of emeralds at the bottoms of the trees and rubies and sapphires, they're just there? Yes. Even if you think, okay, that's too difficult for me to believe. I can't have faith in all of this. This is too out there. It's too far out. And even if you think Krishna has a binding rope in his turban that he's going to bind up the hearts of the devotees, I don't know, it's a little abstract. Even if you think that, if you just have faith, even in a devotee that has faith, that will be enough. It will be enough. I was hearing about Saint Teresa of Avila, who was like a Catholic nun. And she was pretty mystical, but definitely, not a Hindu. And as a Catholic nun, she would sometimes have visions and spiritual visions. And so sometimes she would write them down and journal them. And she wrote about one particular vision where she said she had seen, finally, the form of God. She described him as a youth with a very dark complexion, with hair cascading down from a topknot and flowers in his hair, playing on an instrument like a flute, with many, many maidens all around, in a beautiful forest, the likes of which she said she had never seen before. And I thought to myself, really? And I had read the works of Saint Teresa before. She speaks so many amazingly nice things about the nature of the soul. And I was thinking, I'm almost sure that this woman probably never chanted one Hare Krishna in her life. Right? The chances of that, she probably never chanted not one Hare Krishna in her entire life. And still she was given this vision. Even if you have faith in a devotee, of which Jesus was definitely one, it still counts. Still counts. And I remember when I heard it, I had the goosebumps because I was really thinking, Krishna can reveal himself to anyone. Oh my gosh. My sister and I were speaking yesterday, and we were reciting from Shastra, it says that the workings of karma are very subtle and very difficult to explain or understand. And I feel like on the same end, the workings of faith are very subtle and very difficult to explain or even understand. It's not just that karma is difficult to understand, faith is also difficult to understand. And I tried not to feel jealous, like, why does she get a vision and then not all of us? Like, what? All my years of this chanting of Hare Krishna, and you mean I don't have any vision? And I feel like all of my deities are looking at me every day going, really? You haven't had any visions? Seriously? You come say it to my face. Really? No visions? And then I remind myself, oh, right, never mind. Krishna is telling us, he's like, I am present. I am there. The moment you speak my names, the moment you speak these pastimes, the moment you speak these glories, I am there. It's me that can't see the vision. I cannot blame Krishna for my cloudy eyes. It is said that, this health problem of having cataracts, or what happens is the eyes get clouded over, and then it's like a film layer that covers the eyes. And then what happens is sometimes surgeons have to go in and remove the cataract from the eye. And it is often described that this premanjana, right, which is like this ointment or a salve on the eyes, is compared to our bhakti yoga. But anjana also means like mascara or like kajal, like eyeliner. And so they say that Radharani has perfected the art of applying this premanjana, and she often applies very dark black kajal only because it reminds her of Krishna. And so she thinks, even out of the corners of my eyes, upper or lower, out of the corner, the very tip of my eye, let me see something that reminds me of Krishna. Until, of course, then she gets angry with him, and then she removes it all. But on the days when she's happy, she applies this wonderful premanjana. So sometimes we have this cataract of material existence on our eyes that's clouding us from seeing all of Krishna's mercy and all of Krishna's compassion and all of Krishna's miracles. And then I recently heard a song that I did not know existed that spoke about this affliction of having these material cataracts over our eyes. It clouds everything over. We can't see the good of Krishna consciousness because our eyes are clouded over with all of these doubts. But there's one person who is an expert surgeon at removing them, and that person is Lord Nityananda. He mercifully, compassionately, sweetly, gently removes that clouding over from the eyes so that we get to see these pastimes so much clearer. And so I find myself often praying to Lord Anantadev for shelter, and to Sri Nityananda Prabhu to remove this covering that makes me automatically think, why does a Catholic nun get a vision and I don't? When really, we've just described this vision. Our minds should be bursting with images. And it can. Sometimes, on the first reading, it's like, my mind wasn't bursting. That just means, let's read it again. So looking from the moon tower, the gopis saw Sri Krishna's ropes of love and became immersed in its wonderful workings. Who is he looking for now? Who can satisfy his insatiable desires and pacify his mind, which is ever absorbed in a quest for love? They looked towards Sri Radhika, who strained her lotus eyes to get one last glimpse of Mukunda before he stepped under the canopy of Vrindavan's forest. All the inhabitants of Braj, the small jasmine creepers that take shelter of the tamal trees, the birds who ply the fragrant skies, and the youngest of the calves who suck their mother's milk, all of them know that Srimati Radhika is the one and only one who can fully satisfy the mind and senses of Govinda. As he ties down all living entities with his ropes of love, in the same way, the love of Sri Radha binds Krishna and makes him a helpless servant of her lotus feet. Raghunath Das Goswami therefore says, although Sri Krishna agitates all the Brajbasis, the disc-shaped hairpins Sri Radhika wears above her ears cause him to spin around like a disc. Spinning and spinning under the influence of her love, Sri Krishna comes to Radhika like a beggar for prema, or love. Everyone in creation turns to Sri Krishna for some unfulfilled desire, and they say, give, give. Sri Radha, representing the pinnacle of pure love, which like the air permeates the ether of Braj, Radhika simply says to him, take, take. As the unlimited repository of love, she is the abundant storehouse of his happiness, and as its magnanimous guardian, she continuously serves him what he eternally craves. Govinda is like a hungry man sitting at a feast of unlimited preparations, being served by the master chef, Sri Radha. Consequently, Niryoga Pash also indicates Sri Krishna, who is bound by the ropes of the love of his cows, friends, mother, and gopis. As he binds others with his love, so he is bound by the loving affection of his devotees. When, during the month of Kartik, Mother Yashoda discovered her restless son had broken a pot of yogurt and distributed its contents to the monkeys, she bound him to a grinding mortar with the ropes of her maternal love. Although he appeared to be a small boy, the entire creation, including Braj Dham, was inconceivably situated within the pores of his chubby little body. Who can collect sufficient rope to bind his waist? Due to her loving affection, Yashoda considered her son an ordinary mortal, subject to regular correction for his proper upbringing. So she thought, let me correct him, otherwise he'll turn into a bigger thief when he grows older. And then he'll bring disgrace to my family. Everyone will think, where was his mother? Didn't she teach him properly? Why is her son looting and thieving all over the place? He's the son of a king. Who does this kind of behavior? And so Mother Yashoda thought, let me teach him properly. So now, thus Krishna succumbed to her ropes of love, and allowing himself to be tied at the waist, he became known as the Damodar of Mother Yashoda. On another occasion, Sri Krishna hesitatingly approached Srimati Radharani after spending time with a rival gopi. Unwilling to look in his direction, Sri Radha cast a reproachful glance from the reddish, tearful corners of her lotus eyes and tied him up with the intense bonds of her possessive love. Although there were no visible ropes on his bluish body, Sri Krishna was unable to move and remained firmly fixed, rooted to the spot, until Radhika, satisfied by his submission, untied the knots of her loving glances. In this way, he is also known as the Damodar of Sri Radha. Because it is his veritable life force and the substance of his being, Sri Krishna is bound to follow the love of his devotees, being eternally bound by their affection. Indeed, he even dances according to the love of his devotees, as is shown by a conversation between Radhika and Vrinda one Sunday morning. Radha said, "Oh, my beloved friend Vrinda, where are you coming from?" Vrinda says, "I am coming from the feet of Sri Hari." Radha says, "Where is he?" Vrinda replies, "In the forest on the bank of Radha Kund." Radha inquires, "What is he doing there?" Vrinda says, "He is learning dancing." Radha asks, "Who is his master?" Who is his dancing teacher? Vrinda replied, your image of love, Radha, revealing itself in every tree and creeper, in every direction, is roaming like a skillful dancer, making Krishna dance behind. This is Sri Krishna's transcendental nature. Once he becomes attached to the spontaneous love of his devotees, he will not leave their association, even if they become neglectful of him. That's the part. It's me. I'm they. I'm the ones, the neglectful ones. Isn't it so hope-giving? Isn't it so comforting to know that Krishna is so attached that he will never leave you? It doesn't give us an excuse to be neglectful, but it gives us the grace to carry on. Because if we get so down on ourselves for our missteps, we will talk ourselves out of continuing our bhakti. And what a tragedy that would be. I am a person who gets very attached to my friends. We don't need to speak every day, but I get really attached to the friends. And so I understand that feeling. Krishna is so attached. If I were to say to Krishna, like, you know what? I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's like, even if we didn't need to talk every day, that would be better than cutting off my relationship with Krishna. The essence and the principle of sambandha, or connection, is to reestablish that friendship with Krishna, is to reestablish that relationship with Krishna. Krishna says he is Madan Mohan because he yearns to reestablish that connection with all of us. Once it's been reestablished, even if you say nothing, don't cut off the connection again. Don't talk yourself out of reconnecting with our best friend. Many times I have to ask myself when I'm going through something in life and I get angry with God, who is my best friend, I have to ask myself, is this a people problem? Is this a material world problem? Or am I actually really angry with God? Usually it's either a people problem or a material world problem. And then I have to remind myself not to take out that anger on my best friend, because most of the time he didn't do it. Even though he is the controller and the maintainer and the protector and the preserver of everyone, everything, everywhere. But he speaks in Srimad Bhagavatam that even though, and in Bhagavad Gita, even though everything is resting within him, he is not entering into everything at all times, because he reserves the right to not personally enter and interfere in what living entities want to do. Right? There's that whole free will thing. Unless and until we say, Krishna, it's yours anyway, take it. Do what you want. Do what you want. Everyone in Vrindavan knows if Krishna does not come to steal butter, the cows won't even give milk. They think, what is the purpose of this? Why would I even want to give milk if Krishna doesn't come to steal it? Sometimes we get very afraid about Krishna stealing our wealth and material assets and all of these things, but it's coming and going anyway. It's coming and going anyway. So if we allow Krishna to do it, that is the real usage of our wealth. And Krishna doesn't just say, oh, I just take it all and leave you poverty-stricken. How many examples do we have? Do we need to look at like Sudama again and Bali again and like all of these? There's innumerable examples. There's another Sudama who was a flower garden, a flower garland maker in Mathura. There's Kubja. There's like, we have example after example after example that as soon as Krishna has taken something, the little fruit seller, I have to look up, does she even have a name? You know, Garga Samhita gives so many details. I need to find out, do they give her a name? Does she have a name? Is she just fruit seller? Because even if she is just fruit seller, they didn't even give her a name. but Krishna gave her so much wealth. He walked over with his two little chubby baby palms filled with rice grains. And by filled, I mean there were like 3 grains in each hand. By the time he finally made his way to this wonderful woman, and she thought, it's okay. I don't need your grains to barter. She says, just come sit on my lap. Just one time, come and sit on my lap and affectionately hug me as though I were your mother. Krishna does it. She says, now, take all the fruits that you want. Look, this mango is very nice and sweet. Look, come have this wood apple. Oh, come, look, I know you love these berries. She fills his little arms up with fruits. And of course, later on, Bilva Mangalacharan and so many others have described when she looks down, she finds that her basket is filled with priceless jewels. Look at Dhruva. He gave everything that he had, even as a 5-year-old boy, to our Supreme Lord. And he was so incredibly rewarded. Krishna understands the desires of our heart, even if they seem material. I was just reading Daksha, the great Prajapati and previous father-in-law of Lord Shiva, after the incident where he becomes the previous father-in-law of Lord Shiva, he is doing a lot of penance because he is supposed to be having loads of children. A Prajapati is a progenitor, a person who is supposed to populate the universe. So he's supposed to be having many, 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 many children. And he's thinking, I'm not able to do my service. This is difficult. I need a good wife. And so he goes and he does many, many austerities in the Vindhya hills, and he recites prayers that please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Vishnu appears to him. Dark complexion, 8 arms, wonderful helmet, jewels, everything. Lord Vishnu says, I am so pleased with you. You are a dear devotee of mine. And then he gives him a nice counterpart and basically endorses and enables his material sex life. Then he leaves. Look at that. So sometimes we might think, these desires that I have, they only seem material. I don't know how I would use that in Krishna's service. Dhruva wanted a kingdom. That sounds like a material desire. And not just any kingdom, you know? In true 5-year-old boy fashion, he wanted the biggest kingdom that has ever kingdomed in the history of kingdoms. And when he saw the Lord, he thought, oh my Lord, I came to you just like a merchant. What have I done? I'm trying to barter my devotion in terms for some material gifts. What was I thinking? It's very smart for a 5-year-old. And what was I thinking? You've given me the priceless jewel of your association. I don't want anything else. Lord Vishnu laughs, my dear boy, I understand what is within your heart. And so I will always give you my association, but I'll also give you the biggest kingdom that has ever kingdomed in the history of kingdoms. A kingdom that will outlast all other kingdoms. A kingdom that will be a replica with the potency of my own divine abode. Did you all know that? Dhruvaloka has the potency of all of Krishna's abodes, including Dwarka, Mathura, Vaikunta. Right? Okay, Dhruva is amazing. I wound up looking it up because one devotee was asking, Dhruva got this kingdom, but did he also get Prema Bhakti? Because we hear about Prema Bhakti, or loving devotional service, kind of later on in the Srimad Bhagavatam. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in his commentary, the answer is yes. Because Dhruva inwardly has a very internal conversation with the Lord also, in which he asks the same question. I am afraid of being pulled this way or that way by my material desires. And Krishna says, you don't have to worry. Because along with all of this wealth, I also give you loving devotional service to me for forever. So when Krishna takes something from us, please know that he is going to give back unlimitedly. He has no chill. You know, some people like, they hold back, they're just kind of test the waters. Krishna is not like that, which is why it's so difficult to get his attention. Takes a lot. Then the tests come before, because he knows once he gives his attention, he goes fully running after his devotee, dancing according to the whims of his devotee, as we just heard. How incredible. How incredible is our best friend, who is Lord of the universe. But for him, it's more important to be our friends than it is to be Lord of the entire universe. He willingly puts down all of that awe and reverence. He says, it doesn't matter to me. I would willingly renounce it just to love and be loved by you. My God. Literally, my God. That is my best friend. So this is my best friend with ropes. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who destroys everything inauspicious for his devotees, does not leave the hearts of his devotees, even if they remember him and chant about him inattentively. I want you to all listen to this again and then cry privately later. Because that... How many times are we thinking, oh, I've been chanting, but it's inattentive, so then let me chant later when I can be more attentive. Yes, of course. We should always be striving to increase the quality of our japa. But don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Attentive or inattentive, just keep chanting. Just do it, because otherwise the mind will use that as an argument. Your mind will step in and say, oh, you think you want to do some Krishna service, some devotional service, some bhakti yoga? You can't do it properly. Better you stop and not do anything. But that's not better. I guarantee you it's not better, because the not doing anything, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, a day, 2 days, a week, a month, a year, and then before we know it, we're thinking, where did my fire go? I used to have a fire for Krishna consciousness. Where did it go? Our minds convinced us that we were doing it all wrong. Here, we are hearing and understanding. It's okay. It's okay. Krishna is giving you his attention and his love, even if it's not perfect. He is not waiting for you to master the process. He's just waiting for you to start. And the moment you start, he's so eager that he's like, no problem. I tie you up, you tie me up. We're all tied up together. And I will never leave you. Even if you're conditioned, even if you're not perfect, even if you are inattentive, even if you are neglectful. Never, ever, ever will he leave you. So I want to let Krishna steal my attention. I want to use every single excuse. Every single one. One more line. Yeah, one more time. Same line. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who destroys everything inauspicious for his devotees, does not leave the hearts of his devotees, even if they remember him and chant about him inattentively. This is because the rope of love always binds the Lord within the devotees' hearts. Such devotees should be accepted as most elevated. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Shri Yashoda Damodar ki jai. All glories to the near yoga pash of Shri Krishna, those wonderful, tightly binding ropes of Shri Krishna. All glories to the ropes of love that we all have access to. I'm going to end with one last pastime, because Why not? And this lake of nectar is very deep, and I'm all about diving deep into the lake of nectar. This is a very young pastime. I hope that we're ready, because I read it and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And then I read it to my sister and she had the exact same reaction. And so I hope that all of us will end this with, we like to end with something sweet. Start with something sweet, we end with something sweet. So we started with this Chodastakam, and now we'll end with a similar kind of pastime. There is a little bit of a rope mentioned, so it all fits in. But we get to see how Krishna lovingly interacts with his devotees. This is from Ananda Vrindavan Champu. And rather than give you a title for it, we'll just begin. One night, the soothing rays of the full moon illumined the courtyard of Nanda's house. Yashoda sat there talking with some elderly gopis while Krishna played nearby, gazing at the moon. Sneaking up behind Yashoda, Krishna removed the veil covering her head, loosened her braid, and patted her on the back to get her attention with his butter-soft lotus palms. You ever felt like that? Krishna's trying all day to get our attention in various ways. He's like moving things, and then we're late, and then a bus breaks down, and then something else happens, and he's constantly, hey. When will we turn around and finally acknowledge that Krishna has been tapping us on the shoulder? Yashoda's heart swelled with maternal love, so she indicated with a glance that her friends should attend to Krishna. His voice choked up as he continually cried. With great respect and affection, the gopis enthusiastically lifted up Krishna and asked, "Oh, darling, what do you want? Do you want some kheer?" Which is nice, thick, sweet rice. Krishna replied, "No, no." "Do you want some thick, creamy yogurt?" Krishna replied, "No, no." "Do you want some cheese?" Again, Krishna said, "No, no. I want freshly churned, condensed butter." The gopis continued, "Do not lament or be angry with your mother. What do you mean by condensed butter?" Pointing his little index finger to the moon, the full moon, Krishna replied, "I want that freshly churned condensed butter." My sister was saying we've heard the moon referred to as so many things, a pizza pie, cheese, all this stuff. We feel like here's the source. We found it. It was Krishna. The elderly gopis said, "Oh, Vats, small child, do not mistake the moon for a huge piece of butter. It is a Rajahansa, a royal swan, gliding across the lake of the sky." Krishna said, "Then give me that Rajahamsa so I can play with him. Quickly, catch him before he reaches the bank of the lake." Full of anxiety, Krishna kicked his legs and cried loudly, "Give me, give me." While Krishna showed his childish antics, some other gopis said, "Oh, darling, they have lied to you. What you see is not a Rajahamsa, but it is the moon hanging in the sky, and it is called Chandra." Krishna said, "Then give me that Chandra. I really want it so I can play with it right now. Get it." Yashoda placed her crying son on her lap and comforted him. "Darling, actually, it is freshly churned condensed butter. Definitely, it is not a Rajahansa, nor is it the moon. Regardless, I can never give it to you. Just see by chance or by the arrangement of providence, it has poisonous spots on it. Although it looks very tasty, no one in this world can eat it." Then Krishna said, "Mother, mother, why is it stained with spots of poison? What is poison anyway?" Seeing a change in Krishna's mood, Mother Yashoda embraced him and spoke in a gentle, sweet voice. "Listen attentively, my dearest son. There is an ocean of milk called Kshir Sagar." Krishna said, "Mother, please tell me about that. How many milk cows made that ocean? Yashoda answered, my darling, the milk ocean was not made by cows. Krishna said, Mother, you are lying to me. How can there be milk without cows? Yashoda said, the one who gave cows the ability to produce milk can also make milk, even without cows. Krishna said, who is he? Yashoda replied, he is the Lord, the cause of creation. He is Bhagavan. He is immovable and all-pervading. Although he is everywhere, I cannot show him to you. Krishna said, well, mother, are you telling me the truth? Yashoda nodded. Long ago, the demigods and the demons had a fight. To favor the demigods and bewilder the demons, the Lord churned that ocean of milk. Mandara mountain served as the churning rod, and Vasuki, the king of the serpents, offered his body for the rope. The demons and demigods stood on opposite sides pulling that rope. Krishna said, Mother, mother, did they churn the way you gopis do? Yashoda said, yes, my son, exactly that way. The churning of the Kshirosagar produced a poison named Galakuta. Krishna said, Mother, how did churning milk produce poison? Only snakes have poison. Yashoda said, darling, Mahadev drank that poison, but the snakes drank the drops of poison that fell from his mouth. As a result, they now have poison. The poison rising from that milk ocean is also the energy of the Lord. Krishna said, yes, mother, this is indeed true. Yashoda said, darling, this condensed butter you are seeing in the sky is also produced from that Kshirosagar, because she's using cowherd girl logic. When you churn milk, you get butter. So they churned the milk ocean, they got some butter. That is why the moon is spotted with the remnants of that poison. Look carefully, don't you see it? She points out the spots on the moon. Therefore, do not try to eat that butter, but please take my freshly churned butter instead. After hearing this description, Krishna felt sleepy. So Mother Yashoda put him to rest in an opulent golden bed on a fluffy soft mattress, whiter than powdered camphor. Shri Yashoda Damodar ki jai. And that is the story of how Krishna wanted the moon. So sweet. I love it so much. Please do not be surprised if you see that as a retelling at some point, because it is such, like, how adorable is this Krishna? He knows everything. He is the master of the entire universe. And still he's asking, who is that person that can make milk without cows? He still runs to his mother if there's thunder. He still runs to his mother when he's mistaken another gopi for her. He looks around fearfully. Where's my mother? Oh no. This is our friend who will never leave us. Once he's tied us up with his ropes, and once we've tied him with our ropes, he never leaves us. He stays through the neglect, through inattention, through anything and everything. As long as we allow him and we don't tell him, get away from me, he stays. Sometimes even if we tell him, get away from me, he starts to move closer. Starts to find out, are we really serious? But he is a thief, so please beware. And I've often thought, if this thief would just once, he makes his way into my heart, I would gladly dust for fingerprints for forever. You know, I would gladly conduct an investigation into the theft for forever. Constantly taking the dust that is accumulated within my hearts and just dusting for prints, just trying to see, has Krishna left a fingerprint here, a handprint here, a footprint here? Where's that thief? You know, you ever have something that you really like? This happened to me when I was younger with a bike, and my bike got stolen out of my backyard. So ever have something that you've lost or it's been stolen, and then everywhere you're looking, you're constantly like, where is it? I wonder if I could see the bike. I wonder if that's the person that stole my bike. I wonder where that bike is now. And then it comes in at the strangest times, or you'll see an item that looks similarly to you. Is that mine? No, it's not mine. Is that one mine? No, not quite. Krishna says this is what he does to the hearts of his devotees. Sometimes we feel as though I'm so close to Krishna. In this one moment, with this one round, or with this one mantra, in this one kirtan, I feel so close to Krishna. And then sometimes it feels as though he disappears. Why? Because then we become obsessed. Like somebody who's had something they really like and it's been stolen, or they've lost it. We're forever looking. Is that my Krishna? Is that my friend? Is that my bike? I think that's the person. It looks like it. It must be mine. You're moving forward to get a closer look. Is that really? Till you get up closer. Oh no, I was mistaken. It happens. The minute we allow ourselves to get obsessed with Krishna. Allow it. Let it happen. We're going to get obsessed with something anyway. Might as well be Krishna. Let him steal our hearts. This bhakti yoga is so incredibly romantic. It's the best adventure, the best love story, the best fairy tale that we could ever have. Thank you so much for being with me. This is such a fun lecture. Next session, we'll talk about many things, including Krishna's buffalo horn. And I'll recite that story because why not? Good time. It's a good time. And now, whenever we see Krishna's ropes, we can think, did he find someone? Is he on the hunt for someone? Who is he looking for now? Who will get tied up? Will it be me? Will it be our friends? Who is it? So if you see those ropes, send a message, point them out throughout the next week or whenever. And let's all try and figure out, is Krishna victorious or is he hunting? And if so, who did he capture? Who will he capture next? Thank you again. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Shri Krishna Chandra ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai. All glories
to Gopi ki jai. All glories to the simple devotees.
All glories to each and every one of you. Thanks you for making this the best live stream ever. It's number one in my book. Thank you all for being here, whether you've joined on Zoom or whether you've joined on YouTube. And I will see you all next time. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day.